Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to go ahead and show you how to unwrap this sword I created in week 2, 3, something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and just get to business here. I'm going to switch from panels to saved layouts to perspective UV editor. And when I click on my object here, you'll see this is my UVs. Now I also do have a number of different materials because I was going over how to assign a material, how to change the color of it, a little brief explanation of what they are and do. But I'm going to start by toggling on my shaded UVs. That's with this button here. And this last one is, what does it stand for again? UV distortion. So the UV distortion basically, red would be not a high quality, where white and blue very, very good. White being the best, I believe. So that basically means that this just doesn't have a lot of texture room on it, especially in comparison to the rest of it. But that's what that does. I wouldn't worry too much about that because some objects, you're going to get some type of distortion on. But let's go ahead and just get started in here. So I'm going to just start with the blade right here. And you can see with the white bold lines on this object where the UV seams are already. So this is where the seams are created. So I'm basically just going to do this pretty quickly. I'm going to tap 3 on my keyboard to make sure I grab all these faces I need. And I'm going to just simply start by I'm just going to hold spacebar, and I'm going to do a UV camera based, and I'm going to just create my edge or my seam right along these just by holding shift and clicking on my edges, and double click down here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to hold I'm going to go over here to cut so, and I'm just going to go to cut. Now what that does is if I go into my tools and move UV shell tool, I can grab these hopefully pretty easily. What I've done is I just created the blade having 2 sides of the UV, and I think that's totally fine for this particular part because this is going to be such a sharp edge that it won't really matter as much. So I'm going to go into, with this one, the one that's red because the UVs are flipped around, I'm going to go into modify and flip, and that's it. So now it's facing the right way. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just keep pushing away at this. And this one I could do in a number, I'm going to just start on this part here. I could do in a number of different ways. And I guess I'll just select in here. But I'm going to just select all the faces I need. Like this one. I could just start to UV unwrap it this way. I'll just do UV camera based. And then I know I've got the bottom selected. And you can do this however you'd like. I'm just kind of trying to do this fairly quickly. Camera based. Because once I have everything on its own UVs here, I guess I'll do this whole side here. Camera based. camera based. And did I forget to grab some faces here? It looks like it. So I'm going to just grab these. Camera based. And then I believe I just have the top left on here. UV camera based. Okay. So there is a couple things I could do to this if I'd like. And the side is, alright, modify, flip. So I'm going to start by selecting all of these. And tools, no, in my UV toolkit, which would be tools, show hide UV toolkit, I'm going to go over here to unfold and just click unfold. And that usually does a pretty good job on it. I could go a little bit further and start combining certain faces on here. So like if I were to do a cut sew and move and sew, what that does is it just moves. So if I just did sew, if I just did sew, you see what happens. But if I do, it's sewing the edges together. If you remember, I was explaining once how it's sort of like clothing. You know, you cut cloth and you sew it back up. That's kind of what this is. But if you do move and sew, you move it into place and it doesn't get all distorted like that. And I've now combined these. And I could even go further with it, but I don't want it to distort too much. I'm going to click unfold again, and you're going to see I get this much different shape. But if I really wanted to, I could also include like, and I'm just kind of showing you. I'm just going to select this edge and this edge, and now I'm going to have to unfold it again. I did a move and sew, and you'll see it starting to become one object. You'll see the distortion on it, but as I scale it larger, it usually changes. Oh. So you'll see the distortion's white, which is really good because it's maintaining those basic shapes, right? That you know, the sides look exactly like the sides, this looks exactly like that, so on and so forth. But if I were to go ahead and let's just say sew this edge, you're going to see that I start to get some, typically it'll be pretty strange distortion going on. And we'll find out here in just a second. If I sew these so I have like one large object, let's see how it unfolds. And now if I do my distortion map, it's still actually pretty decent, but it is gonna be kind of weird. You'll see, actually you can kind of see it in, I can only see it if I'm in both. You can start to see where some of these edges have that distortion. See a little bit here and here, and if I scale it, maybe we'll be able to see it a little bit better. So you can tell where it's starting to get a little wonky on us. But it's not bad, especially if you want to keep everything as one UV per spot. But I can't really assign the bottom to it because it's just a totally separate object. It won't. You can't really sew it on. I mean, I could sew it onto one side, but it would sort of really distort everything. So I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to keep the bottom separate from the top. And what is going on here? I'm going to try to unfold this one more time. Turn off my distortion really quickly. Let's see if alright. What I'm going to do with this one is go into face mode, and then I'm just going to reproject it. And I'm going to project it this time because it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it to. I mean, I know it can come out a little bit cleaner. If I go to UV and I'll try the best plane one. And that seemed to work. Okay. UV best plane. Kind of unfortunate I have to reselect all these faces, but oh, there we go. And let's see what it did in the over here. I'm going to just do a flip. That sort of fixed that weird edging I was having. Now I'm going to move to the handle. This one I could cylindrical unwrap. However, I honestly think it's just faster to do it camera based. And then I'm just going to pick an edge at which I want for this to have. I'll just go like one of these sides. Or the back side, actually. Let's go here. And then I'm going to go cut. And then unfold. There's my handle. And here's my sphere. This one I could show you the spherical unwrap. I don't think it really does the best job. But let's take a look and just do an unfold. See, it doesn't do that great of a job. I mean, it does start to, but you can really get the same results from... I'm going to move and sew these ones. You can get the same exact results, even better on the first try with... and I'm going to cut that edge. There we go. With the cylindrical unwrap. Alright. And now I've got my entire sword unwrapped. Now I just have to go in here. Find out what this is. Oh, looks like one of my faces wasn't selected. So what I'm going to do here is just cut sew, move and sew. That back into place. And just unfold it one more time. Alright, so now I've got everything unfolded. I'm going to just highlight all of my UVs. I'm going to go to Modify and Layout. and make sure that this is all the way at the bottom under uniform. That's really all I need to worry about. And if you haven't already done it, Windows, Setting Preferences, Plugin Manager, and UV or Unfold 3D right here. Loaded, auto load, refresh, and close, and layout UVs. And now I've got a pretty good start to this. I'm going to also assign another new material, but on the entire object this time. And as I showed you before, I do edit, delete all by type, history. And if as I've showed you before, I'm going to click on color and do the little checkerboard there to click checkerboard, and I'm going to do the checker instead of a file. Tap 6 on my keyboard, make sure I can see it. And then tools, move UV shell tool. So my UVs look pretty good. I'm going to scale them up just to make sure they're all pretty much uniformly the same size. And they are. And now in here, I just have like this little puzzle. I'm going to try to utilize the space. I haven't shown you too much on this yet, but basically how I start something like this is I can't really make it any bigger than what these swords can fit, the blades themselves, so I might be kind of stuck with this size. However, there is a sort of a trick to it. I know I'll be able to get typically you always want to have everything be the same size checkerboards, but because I know all of these are going to be you really won't notice as much the resolution changes because they're all going to be separate sort of things. I'm going to increase the size of them, but in order to do that right, like this is the bottom here and this is, I'm just going to scale them both up a little bit. And then just start to move these, because I know this is that whole like, oh, I got the blade on there, that handle protector thing. And this is just like a little trick I've sort of picked up. If you have an object, these I'll just make larger too. If you have an object that like a material that's going to be on going to be entirely sort of separate, like I'm going to have the blade be some kind of metal and I'm going to do this part as a different kind of metal, the handle will be maybe some kind of like leather cloth around it or something, some kind of grip, and then the ball at the bottom might be some kind of brass or I don't know, whatever. You don't really notice it as long as they're all different, and that's. But however, if I had the swords, one side of the blade one size and the other one a different size in the UV editor, you would notice it drastically on the texture from one blade to the other. And this one might not fit, so I might have to make this one smaller. And I know that's going to be different too, so not too big of a concern. Okay. That's just a little trick, but typically you're going to want everything to be the same size checkerboards. So this won't be anymore, but it's still going to work just fine. So if you look at it in here, these are slightly, you know, there's slight variation, but it's good to go like this. Alright, so I've unwrapped my sword. Now I'm just going to go ahead and texture it. And I'm going to take a UV snapshot of this and change the folder. put it in a folder, save it out as .tga, whatever the name is, .tga, click save, make sure this is a TGA, and I'm just going to hit apply and close. And I could just go in here into Photoshop instead of doing the whole import the 3D object, which I find to be super awesome. Now I can do a file open, open up my UVs, go to textures.com over here, and type in, I'm going to just type in sword and see if anything comes up first. It's kind of cool. Alright, so anyway, figure the blade might be made out of some kind of steel. So there's going to be I'll just pick this one. And I'm going to download here. In just a second. Okay, there it goes. Okay. And now, let's see, leather grip. If something comes up. Oh, nope. So let's just do leather. And which one would work well on? And just because your texture, just because you know that the blade would be steel doesn't mean you have to like look up a steel texture and use that as a whatchamacallit, as your texture for it. You could change it to be like whatever you wanted. So I'm gonna use this. I think this is pretty neat. Ooh, that is a small size. I'll still use it. Right. And what else do I have on there? See if there's anything cool under gold. Maybe copper. I'm just looking for something that might look cool at the bottom of it, where that circular ball is. So the steel's for the blade, the ropes for the handle, the and this one, whatever I decide to go with, will be for the ball. Let's see. Something like hard to say. I just have to pick one and kind of go with it. I'll go with this one. Yeah, okay, I'll just download that one. Let's just go with it. And we'll go with this one also. I don't know if that, yeah, it did. Okay. Alright, so now in Photoshop, I'm going to go ahead and open all these textures. And I'm going to close that real quick because I'm going to check my Maya file one more time. I'm noticing some... There we go. I had it in smooth mode. I don't want it to be in smooth mode when I do this, so I'm going to do another UV snapshot. Okay. And now back in Photoshop. Control O for open. And now I'm going to go ahead and begin texturing this. So Control A, Control C, Control V, Control T. And I'm just going to show you a really fast way to do this. I've been kind of speeding through this as I've been going anyway. I could essentially just stretch this across, but then the texture gets all, if I hold shift, then the texture kind of gets that distortion. So what I like to do, especially when it's a seamless texture, is just duplicate it after I resize it once. And then I'm going to use my arrow key to shift that into place. And I'm going to use my eraser tool real quick just to make sure I'm not... That should be good. Control Shift V, Control, here we go. This one, I guess I'll go like so. Fits pretty well right over it. And I believe this one is my steel texture. And I'm just gonna bring the size down and then bring it below here, and I'm just gonna duplicate it all the way down. And actually this one is my steel. So I'm actually going to just place that right over that one. And then I'll take these and just shift them over. And now I'm just going to save it. And I need to save it again actually because I didn't hit the alpha channels. Now I'm going to take all these layers, duplicate them, merge them down, duplicate it again. The first one is going to be sword normal, and the other one will be sword specular. Filter, 3D, generate normal map. In just a second. Okay, and you can check to see if you want to invert whichever. I think this one probably look cooler. Let's just see what the rope looks like. No, that's definitely how I'm going to have to do it. Like so. And we're going to bring this down. And actually, what I'm going to do on this one, instead of doing them all simultaneously, I'll do each one individually. So that's that. And hide that one. And alright. So instead of doing these all one at a time. Oh, looks like I missed one of them. Okay. So this one actually okay. Perfect. Alright, so now and this one. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do each one of these individually. So I'm going to change this one. The rope I feel is like a really important one. And I can't see it. There you are. I'll do something like that. And then steel blade. I'm going to invert and do something like that. The gold will be, that's fine. Let's see, invert. I'll do something like that. And then the hand guard I'll bring up just a smidget. Click OK. And there's my normal map. So I'm going to save this out. Sword normals. TGA. And then my specular. Image adjustments. Black and white. Auto, that's fine. I'll click OK. And then if I want, I'll do image adjustments, brightness, contrast. And that's pretty good. And I'll save this one out. As specular. Back in Maya, I'm going to assign a new material. I'm going to assign a Arnold shader, AI standard surface. Then I'm going to assign my color. Open. And open up the sword diffuse. And just zoom in on it. And you can start to see my sword here. I could pick something better for this handguard, but I'm fine with it. And there's my blade. And then I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of the materials under specular, file, specular, and under geometry, bump mapping, file, use as tangent space normals, click on my file 3, click on the folder, and select my normals map. And now I should have, that's where my seam is. The only way to get rid of that is using a Photoshop projection. But other than that, I've got my sword. The one thing, hide that and that, I'd like to be a bit darker is, I think it's all these ones. Yep. And back in Maya, and now I've got a darker handle thing there. So anyway, that's my sword. This the handle looks good from this side, but as soon as you turn around and get to the other side, it's all mismatched, and there's nothing I can really do too much about, unless I were to Photoshop project it. But other things I could try to do just to give this a little bit more feel to it, I guess you'd say, is I'm not going to turn on soft light yet. If I just sort of take a brush, I'm going to make my soft here, and I'm going to just sort of maybe just no. Just going to try to add a little bit to it. Don't know how well this will turn out, but it's just worth a shot. And I've added this to a separate layer, so I can always undo it if I'd like to. And here, here, and then I just did this spot. And I'm going to run a overlay, no, soft light. And just to try to give it a little bit more, just change the blend mode on it. Oh, and whoops, let's turn off that. I don't know, it's not exactly what I was going for, but it'll work. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would turn that off real quick. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And that's just sort of a fast, easy way to unwrap in texture. So anyway, if you have any questions, shoot me a message. And yeah, thanks again for watching.